almost the worst part.
All right, we're going to call this meeting, special meeting of the IVDA to order. We don't have any closed session items, so we'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Thank you. Please state your names for the record. Members from the City of Colton.
Frank Navarro.
Thank you. Members from the City of Loma Linda.
Phil Duper.
Dusty Rigsby.
Thank you. Member from the County of San Bernardino, 3rd District.
Dawn Rao.
Thank you. And member from the County of San Bernardino, 4th District. Thank you. And members from the City of San Bernardino.
Theodore Sanchez.
Fred Charette.
Thank you very much. We have a full quorum.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Dr. Rigsby if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Stating the pledge to old glory. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burrows, are there any items to be added or deleted?
A request from staff that we defer item number 5 on the consent calendar. That agreement needs some updating, and pleases the board. We'd like a little more time to fix a couple provisions.
Okay.
Other than that, no.
Okay, we'll deal with conflict items that conflict as they come up, and we'll move on to informational items, please.
All right. Well, thank you all. Happy New Year, and appreciate your time here at the special meeting. One quick update on the specific plan tonight at 6 p.m. is the open house. It'll be at the Sterling Natural Resource Center just up the street at 5th and Del Rosa, and the specific plan team will be on hand to provide information and answer any questions, but we'll also be fully equipped to be able to take any comments anybody has. So certainly report back after we engage with the interested folks out there. Both cities have sent staff too, so appreciate that, and we'll keep you updated as we go. Next thing is Ms. Pritchett has just a brief update on the policies and procedures as we navigate our legal landscape. Kat?
Good afternoon. In October of this past year, staff requested to present our updates to policies and procedures in January. We are still in the process of dissecting and digesting all of the state and federal regulations as they pertain to personnel, travel, accounting, purchasing, but we do have very good intentions and plans to present in February, so we will bring those forward next month.
And then next will be Ms. Beltran, the 3rd and 5th Street project that we are partners in with San Manuel and the City of Highland, led now by the City of Highland, is under construction, finally.
Yes.
And Miriam, fill us in on what to expect out there.
So finally, construction activities have taken off. This is week 4 of those activities. And granted, the prime contractor is working at the 3rd and 5th and Church Avenue connection. The work activities include utilities, curb, gutters, sidewalk, and construction of the slip lane that will ultimately connect 3rd and 5th Streets at Church. This phase will continue for the next 4 weeks. The contractor thereafter will mobilize to begin work on Palm between 3rd and 5th Street. This work is going to include some driveway modifications, fence relocations, storm drain improvements, and also other similar work as currently underway. Most of the effort will be handled with just one shoulder closure, but we do expect to see some traffic impacts as they will need to have full closure at some point when they do the pavement operations. Currently, I don't have additional information on the traffic control plan, but I'm sure the City of Highland will make every effort to provide notification of those closures and detours. Thank you.
And if you get questions from the community, we point everybody to the City of Highland website, and they've been really good at getting back with folks. So, last but not least, Mr. Cousineau, GASB 87 expert, report on audit.
No. No, reporting on the audit, GASB 87 continues to consume a significant amount of our time as well as our auditors. So we are pushing, I think we finally cleared the crest of the hill, and we're on the downhill side this week, and we expect to have the audit report next month.
And that concludes our reports. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on any of that? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Minus number 5.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second. Oh,
Okay, we have a first in a couple of seconds. I think that's enough. We can go and call the roll.
Thank you. Please, we have a motion by Member Navarro and a second by Member Rao. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Duper.
Yes.
Member Rigsby.
Yes.
Member Rao.
yes.
Member Hagman.
Hagman, aye.
Member Sanchez.
Yes.
And Member Charette.
Yes.
Thank you. Items 3, 4, and 6 are approved unanimously. Item 5 will be deferred.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 7, and that was a discussion about our current governance structure. And this was brought forward from the board, but we'll turn it over to Mr. Moore.
Okay, thank you. The IVDA Joint Powers Agreement has a relatively unique structure for officers of the board, using, as you're aware, the co-chair position with 2 co-chairs and then a vice chair. It's more typical you see in other special districts or agencies where you have either a single chair and a vice chair, or even more likely a president, vice president. Our sister agency, the San Bernardino Airport Authority, uses the president, vice president format on it. As you indicated, the board requested we put this on the agenda, so perhaps we could have a discussion about that structure as it currently exists. The other element in this agenda item is that the vice chair position is currently vacant. Our board policy provides that whenever an officer position is vacant, that at the next regularly scheduled meeting, conduct an election to fill that position. In this case, we are having a special meeting instead of a regular meeting for January. We also have a couple positions on the board that are currently vacant that we would anticipate being filled by our next regularly scheduled meeting. So I think it would be in the discretion of the board if you choose to defer that election to our next regularly scheduled meeting. And available to answer any questions you have about the Joint Powers Agreement.
Okay, let's open it up here to the board.
So, Mr. Co-Chair, this was at my request. I missed a meeting, Dr. Rigsby, and ended up as co-chair. Thank you. So, not that I don't enjoy serving at the pleasure of the board. However, it is a little bit, I don't know, clunky, awkward, and Mayor Duper and I both are happy to serve, but I think that I wanted to see if this board was interested in restructuring it to more of a traditional chair, vice chair, president, vice president type of structure, so that there's been no conflict with any of us, but who knows in the future where that goes. And so it was at my request, and interested in your thoughts on it as we move forward.
Just for clarification, so we're going from a chair and a co-chair. You're suggesting a vice chair.
Yeah,
A
so
chair
at
and
the
a vice
meeting
chair.
today, the action that I would propose would be to take it from 2 co-chairs to a chair and a vice chair, and then at the next regular scheduled meeting, figure out who the vice chair would be. Is that correct?
Are you applying?
Because we can't do that today at a special meeting.
Well, we cannot actually change the positions of co-chairs at this meeting. Under the Joint Powers Agreement, requires an amendment to the agreement, which requires each of your groups to actually have a vote on that according to your normal procedures, and it requires a unanimous approval to amend the Joint Powers Agreement.
But we could go acting in, Mike.
Yeah, you could have an operating procedure, operating policy from the board standpoint that you elect to function in this manner. That's been done before, not for this purpose, but other purposes. That's completely your discretion, and you can quite simply just give direction to staff to proceed accordingly. Correct, legal counsel?
Yeah, I think what we would do if you were elected to do that, we will still have the 2 co-chair. We would also have a vice chair. But the 2 co-chairs, as a matter of their discretion and convenience, could decide that one of you will act as kind of a first seat, if you will, as the chair, and the other one would act in your absence or at the discretion of it. So one of you could kind of take the lead. There's no requirement that you have to kind of bounce things back and forth and read one meeting and the other co-chair leads the other. You can organize that amongst yourselves if that's what you please.
I guess the challenge with that is then at the next meeting, we wouldn't really then be electing a vice chair.
No, you still would elect a vice chair because the vice chair position is open right now, and we can't really change the structure here, what we can say is for operating purposes, rather than having both chairs, co-chairs lead the meeting, one will take the lead on that or sort of thing is really what you're doing. You're just assigning the duties between the two of you as you would wish.
Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, so I think we can parse this out into pieces. First of all, is there a will on this board to want to go through that pretty extensive process of amending the joint powers agreement, which would require all the participating agencies to change that structure? I mean, is there support for that? And if there isn't, then we work within the capacity we have to create maybe a co-chair number 1 and a co-chair number 2, and then the vice chair, right? That isn't in contradiction with the joint powers governing document. So I think the first thing we should probably try to answer is, do we want to amend the governing document? I would say no. It seems pretty laborious. Is there any support for changing the joint powers governing document?
I would say no, because as with constitutional conventions, there's no telling what's going to be added to it. So, you could end up amending a city out of the charter or whatever. I don't like doing charter amendments unless it's necessary.
But this is a joint powers amendment, so whatever the item is that it comes before each of our boards, it's identical. It would be worked on. You can't change it to have it be different for Loma Linda than it would be for San Bernardino, than it would be for the county. It's a straight up yes or no vote. Do you vote to amend the JPA to reflect a chair, co-chair, or, a chair, vice chair, yes or no?
Correct.
Correct?
Correct. That would be
So there
the
would be
amendment that
no
would
other
make the
amendments.
change.
Yeah, but I mean, right now, we could float the thing and a cabal of us could change it. It would require a 100% vote, but my point is, don't mess with something when there's an easier way to do it. I agree with what Theodore is saying. Let's just do it the easy way. Let's just wink and nod and say, this is a guy who's going to chair, and this is a guy who's going to just sit there and do nothing.
Well, when we winked and nodded before, it didn't work so well sometimes. So, and again, I wasn't in this role, but depending upon whom you have in the leaderships from our various entities, it didn't run smoothly back when I first got on. There was discussion, because really then if you have a co-chair number 1 and then somebody that's second to that, what's the role of the vice chair?
Well, yes, and that structure exists right now. When you have two co-chairs, it requires both to be absent for the vice chair to step in, which is, I don't recall a time that's occurred, to be honest with you.
And then we have had situations, just historical context, where for a variety of circumstances, we have had a situation where there was a co-chair, an active co-chair, a vacancy in the other co-chair, yet an active vice chair. That has happened before, just by circumstance. So from an operating procedure standpoint, that could be one option too, is to say we're going to have a chair rather than a co-chair, and then a vice chair. And you just wouldn't fill a third seat. That would get you to a similar place, I think. You tell me.
The only difficult with that is our board policy, as it currently states, is whenever there is a vacancy of one of the officer positions to elect that or fill it at the next regular scheduled meeting. Now, that's a board policy and not a JPA provision in the agreement. That is one that probably can be amended at the discretion of the board, as opposed to requiring a full vote. It's all of your respective, councils or supervisor boards.
And the board for operating reasons and otherwise, from time to time, has essentially exercised that right to say we are going for this foreseeable future to operate this way and leave this seat vacant. That has been done. Doesn't mean you repeat history. There's other ways you could go. That's really the board's pleasure.
Let's kind of poll the dais here real quick and see where we're at.
Well, I would want to know every last step. The last thing I want is for us to support making an amendment to the governing document, and then we find out later that it's going to take us 6 months and 1,000 hours of man hours to make these amendments. Can you walk us step by step what we're getting into if we decide that we're going to amend this governing document?
Certainly, we would prepare a draft amendment, It will be a very simple amendment at this point in time. It would not be a complex amendment at all. It would be just changing that section of the joint powers agreement to have a chair, co-chair, and eliminate a vice chair position on it, or excuse me, said that backwards, didn't I? It would be eliminate the co-chairs and have a chair and a vice chair as the two officer positions at that level on it. That amendment would then need to go to be put on your city council following your regular procedures and noticing for that. Same thing with the Board of Supervisors. If all of your respective jurisdictions vote in favor of it, it would pass. We'd sign the amendment. But it does require that unanimous approval at your member agency level, not at this board to do that.
I'm sorry, unanimous approval at the council level or unanimous approval of the member?
Unanimous approval of the members at your council level. It would follow your normal procedures, how you would approve that.
I'm sorry. I don't see it taking a lot of staff time at all for a simple amendment like this. It's basically a 4 or 5 line change. You stick it on the consent agenda item and on your entities. But my question is, there's a reason why you formed this as co-chairs in the first place. And I don't know if any of us are here long enough to know why it was done that way.
That's what I want.
Yeah, so what's the history behind it? Because this is only, I've been around for 25 years, the first time I saw 2 co-chairs. So there's probably a reason for it.
With a number of new staff, I am getting called the old guy around here. So that's, I think I can put some gray on that. Where it originated is when the IVDA was first rapidly moving to be formed so that we could get the federal government to transfer the base to this community. The 2 entities that did the most sort of in-kind legwork, shall I say, were the county and the city of San Bernardino. That was just the political structure at the time, and the folks that dedicated a large amount of time and donated much of their staff's time to the effort, and therefore politically upon formation, that's where the co-chair component came out of. In fact, the county in the first 1993 bond issue had to be repaid, fairly considerable sum of money of upfront costs for operating the agency, if you will, whereas the city of San Bernardino had done a lot of legwork on the legal and structuring with the base reuse plan. So the decision at that time,
So it was little on the political side.
with Mayor Holcomb
at the very beginning.
and our counterparts of the county, to do a co-chair and then a vice chair.
For those of us that don't sit on both entities, both the airport and the development, does it make sense to still, I'm bringing the question even one step further, does it make sense to look at the bigger picture as we integrate the airport operations and development on and near the airport?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's been looked at years past, and they are separate legal entities for a variety of
Separate budgets
reasons
and
because of
everything like
airport sponsor, FAA covenants, but also the whole formation of SABIA in 1992 came out of a lawsuit settlement on the adoption of the original redevelopment plan, and it basically
So
said
that's
never
a
the twain
non-question.
shall
So it's just
meet.
basically one that we want to do to a traditional governance type of thing, and not, we don't have to give
Sabina
direction.
doesn't have it.
We don't.
And because it was created later, and
Right.
they said president, vice president, because you had other parties in the room too.
My suggestion is maybe that, because I don't think it's going to take a lot of staff time for you to write the little paragraph, right?
Not at all.
But there's a lot of questions about it. Maybe we punt this till the next meeting with that language, and then it could be agendized and reviewed and either give direction at that time to go forward, and you could do some informal polling of the city entities, and let them kind of let you know, yeah, we're innocent, or no, we're not. And so we have that, because 4 out of 5 of us could say, we're good with this right now, then all it takes is one member of the JP doesn't want to do it. So before we go too much work and too much debate on this dais, can you just reach out? Our representatives here come back and give Michael some insight when your entities are into it.
Okay.
And if you just want to shoot out a quick memo, here's the 3 sentences you would change, and on page 4 of whatever the bylaws, that would be it.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
simpler way to look
very
at it.
quick and easy to do. And, the other question that Councilmember Sanchez asked about timing, that really depends on how long it takes for all of you to get it on your respective agendas
It'd be
and for
simple
boards.
procedure, if the will's there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure we got a full response here from the current board. Is there a will here on the board? Because it'd be pointless to take it back to our cities if we're not all feeling it. I am in agreement with Supervisor Rao, and I would think we should clean it up and fix it, because it's one of those things that's just a little weird. And I remember those issues we've had in recent years, so, but that's my position, but my
I'm in
co-council
support
member
of
may
it.
not agree with me, and that's fine, so.
I have one other comment. On Sabia, we have 3 officers, and they sit as the kind of a unofficial executive committee / budget committee. And I think it would be helpful if we do rewrite this thing, that we create a 3rd position like a secretary, so that you don't just have 2 people on the executive committee. It's kind of an awkward situation. So, you know, if we redo it, we can either do chair, vice chair, secretary, or we do president, vice president. But I think it's helpful to have slightly different terminology so we don't get confused about which board we're talking
Yeah,
about.
I was going to bring up, that's a good point, to be different from Sabia.
Which is Sabia.
Sabia is president, vice president, secretary.
Okay.
We're chairs then.
Yeah.
Well, Fred?
There's been a lot of good points made here, and I can see both ways. I'm a little concerned about taking it before some councils.
Point taken. Mayor Navarro?
Yeah, kind of the same feeling, but, you know, if we really want to make the change on how we operate IVDA, I think that we should at least throw it out there and let the membership guide us as to what direction they want to take. Prepare the language, let's poll the cities, and see what response we get from them.
Okay.
You know, we take it to, you know, we as electeds, we take it to our city manager and put it on his desk and say, let's talk about this. Are you interested in this, yay or nay? If it's a simple nay, then we know where we stand.
And then,
I have the same feeling that Fred has, you know. How are all the member agencies going to respond to the issue of changing the language of the JPA that's been in there for so long? And are they going to be supportive of it?
sure.
I'm of the opinion that this is concerned mostly with the internal function of the board. I mean, if we were taking this back to discuss how IVDA is going to spend their next fiscal year's budget, you'd get a lot of pushback. But most of our colleagues who don't sit on these boards but sit on the city councils, the various city councils, they're going to say, well, you guys are on the ones on the boards. You guys know what's best, and if this is an issue, solve that. So I don't know if there's going to be issues with councils turning this down. It seems pretty small in the overarching responsibility of the agency. So I'm fine with moving forward. It seems like most of us support the idea of making that small amendment that's going to fix something that in perpetuity is going to not, is going to solve a problem that we seem to kind of have seasonally with switching up in the seats up here.
Mr. Co-Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
would there be any reason for us not to add a 3rd position as Dr. Risby suggested?
Not at all. That's
It's just what you want to call it.
discretion of the board, you know, to a certain degree it becomes
You like
semantics.
it? Yeah.
You leave it as it is, but add a 3rd position.
Yeah. Oh,
No.
Just change.
Can you
That
put
would
it
be a 4th position then.
Chair, vice chair, secretary, or
We could call it the vice chair pro tem.
I'm hoping you slip in little extra fees on the cities in there too, since your budget's kind of weak, you could put a little more
Yeah.
agency fees there.
Duly noted.
So is that a motion then?
So I would make a motion that we present to our respective bodies a suggested change to the JPA to amend it to be a chairman, a vice chairman, and a secretary.
I'll second that.
Okay. You have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, do you want to do the official poll?
Well, it's kind of direction, right? Because we can't.
It's really a direction at
Yeah,
this
we
point
can't
to
take
staff,
action on
correct?
it. We're directing staff to go figure it out and bring it back for the member agencies.
Right. We'll bring it back to you at your next meeting here in February, that you can see the exact language and decide if that's the language you want to go forward with or not.
Okay.
So Mike, you can call it a technical corrections amendment.
Mr. Charette, you good with that, sir? We're all good?
And I will not be here for IVDA in February, but I'm sure whatever Mr. Lewin comes up with will be ideal.
Don,
What you're going to be doing next.
General of the IVDA.
Supervisor, I will,
Yeah, you're the co-chair still, so you'll see the language, believe me.
yeah, Supervisor, I will be sure to send it to you in advance so any comments can get back to me, okay?
we had agreement, Don, you cannot miss a day for the next 2 years.
Not off this board,
Yes, you can't miss anything.
the other board, the other
I
board.
already talked to Pete, you can't miss anything.
Okay, it's sufficient direction was given, so let's move on to item number 8, our budget adjustment. Mr. Kuzma.
Thank you. This is one of our nicer budget adjustments. What we have for your consideration and approval is a net budgetary revenue increase of $58,377. That adjustment is comprised of increased revenues of $318,377 from additional participation payments received with the sale or closure of the Northgate properties, and new expenditures or increased expenditures. Well, one is not an expenditure, but it's an additional transfer to the Economic Development Reserve of $150,000. So that's basically, we're reserving that for future activities. And a $60,000 increase in general fund account 50915, professional services specific plan to support the next phase of the airport gateway specific plan with professional services, which we'll probably begin to need tonight. And then establish an appropriation of $50,000 for previously recorded and reported expenses associated with the landscaping lighting maintenance district for the approaches for San Bernardino International Airport. And the remaining two adjustments are basically offsetting fund and account budget allocations for insurance account 50790 between the UAS Center and the general fund for $1,000, and offsetting general fund account budget allocations between 50810 license and permit fees and a decrease in 50790 insurance in that general fund. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. I have a first by Mayor Navarro
Second?
and a second by Supervisor Rao. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Navarro and a second by Member Rao. Please take your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Duper?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Hagman?
Hagman, aye.
Member Sanchez?
Yes.
And Member Charette.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 9, Mr. Burrows.
So Mr. Burrows will be Mr. Barrow for a moment, if it pleases the board. Jeff had an issue come up. He apologizes, but this one's pretty straightforward. Can you get the overhead up? Okay. So again, another thing that the IVA did, carried forward historically, is what the Air Force did, where they numbered everything. So Building 58 is right behind us here. This is what was the base exchange for the Air Force. We have, over time, as we've been able to aggregate some tenants in the space, done some improvements to various sections of the building. We've been able to obviously get some jobs and investment out there. What has not been improved is the center portion, which is the largest portion. So, dating myself now, but when we used to go into a department store, the inside was sort of where everything was at. That's exactly what the base exchange was. One of the biggest issues in here was asbestos lead abatement. Thankfully, we were able to get an EDA grant to do all of that. So we have essentially a shell inside. But what was not able to be funded during that prior grant project was the code compliance improvements for the, particularly the restrooms and some of the drop-down lighting out there. So thankfully, Jeff and Kevin and the team were able to go out and do a bid package there, and we are actually able to do everything on the code improvement scale that we needed within the budgeted amount. So AEC Marino Corporation was the low bidder and is prepared to get to work so we can have a occupancy cert for this center space. And I just want to acknowledge Kevin, who is here, who has done all that work, and thank him for keeping this right on top of the board there for the construction crew. So happy to answer any questions, but in a nutshell, we need to get the interior of the building up to code in order to get a tenant.
Do we have any projected tenants?
We have a couple, actually. One who you visited a little over a year ago, Ecotech Visions, who again is awaiting this information to be able to implement their program. And then we've had two others come in line here as we've been working on our green energy project. So main thing is it needs to have an occupancy cert no matter who's in there. So.
For questions or a motion?
I have a question. So county fire and the asbestos issue with where we're leasing.
On the east end, on the
Yeah.
airport, yeah.
Yep. What other buildings? I mean, that's been a huge deal for us.
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah. So what other buildings on property are we looking at that potentially have the same issue?
I've got to say that the list has gotten really small, thankfully, with a whole lot of help from our friends in Congress and, across the local landscape. This is probably one of, other than Building 302, our favorite one there, one of the very, very last ones. I would say there's some encapsulation in the very, very large hangar complex on the airport side, but we're probably down the list. The last couple, you're going to see demoed across the street with Northgate with Hillwood.
Okay.
So thankfully, Miriam will be really upset. She doesn't have to do more abatement projects, but I think we're finally getting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, I'll move it. Supervisor Hagman moves it.
Second.
Mr. Sanchez?
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Hagman and a second by Member Sanchez. Please state your names for the record, or your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Duper?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Hagman?
Hagman, aye.
Member Sanchez?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to number 10, Mr. Burrows on the 3rd Street corridor.
So speaking of congressional leadership, a little over a year ago, you all supported a community project funding request, congressionally directed spending request at the Senate side for this segment of 3rd Street. And with the approval of the omnibus bill recently, we've got $1 million headed our way under the DOT allocation. So we got some good news here. Portions of this segment have been improved by a variety of projects, so that's good. Where we are focusing the efforts is the northerly segments on the north half width of the road, and working with adjacent owners, because we have several in this corridor, to participate. So that $1 million can be stretched to the fullest level of improvement that we can possibly do. Just want to point out that where you will see a break in the work will be right there at the Sterling Avenue intersection, which is a good thing because Ms. Beltran has a federal EDA grant for $3 million to redo that intersection and connection there. But for our City of San Bernardino partners, our friends at San Manuel, I am going to be reaching out, setting up discussions on how we can align efforts and make sure that all of the right-of-way dedications and everything are coordinated. Probably by your next meeting, if not the March meeting, I think Miriam will have an engineering proposal back to get the final bid plans, bid sets put together. The design of this road, IVDA funded years ago. It's 95% complete, but we just need to get the bid package put together, and we're going to need our engineer of record to do that. So just wanted to give you a heads up. This will be coming up on the project list here, but great news, and really appreciate Congressman Aguilar and the work back there with our state, our senators, our U.S. senators, for their support. So happy to answer any other questions.
Okay, seeing no questions, thank you very much for that report. We had no added or deferred items. Oh, I'm sorry, we need to go on to item number 11, or action.
This one's quick. We've just talked about just about all of that. Quarterly financials, Mark has done, and that we will be bringing forward to the Finance and Budget Committee at its next meeting. On the annual ROPS, Mark just attended the Countywide Oversight Board, and how did we do, Mark?
Approved.
Good. Okay. Well, that part's done. So just be ready for February. It looks like we'll be ready to go with the audit, and appreciate your patience on that. We're one of many agencies with leases, so it's been a fun time. So again, thanks for your support.
Thank you very much. And to Madam Clerk, do we have anybody for open public comment?
There are no public comments.
Thank you very much. And with that, we'll adjourn our meeting till next month. Thank you. Thank you.
For board member comments,
I'm sorry.
if I can, just for a quick second, we're going to have at least one new face on this board. Our Mayor, Helen Tran, will be joining us here on the dais, and so I want to welcome her. I think this is her first meeting in person here, so
It could
look forward
actually
to having
be
you on.
appropriate for her to step forward and to give a speech if she'd like.
Oh, you want to give a speech? There you go. There you go. There you go.
Hello. Hi. Good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. Helen Tran here, the newly elected mayor of San Bernardino, and I'm excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you, council member. So I just want to introduce myself, and I am looking forward to working with you and to continue to move IVDA forward. And so, yes, I will see you at the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great way to end our meeting. So we'll be adjourned. Thank you.